This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is October 21st, 2025. I'm going to be explaining the symbolism behind that viral video that has caused such a brouhaha of Donald Trump boiling Harry Sisson and Americans in excrement in hell. How that relates to what the Talmud says about Jesus Christ boiling in excrement and semen in hell, and why it is that Jesus is boiling in excrement in hell. I was the first one to have the insight that it relates to another Talmudic passage which says that anyone who questions or mocks the rabbis, the sages, is doomed to be boiling in hell in excrement. The Zohar states that Jesus Christ and the prophet Muhammad are in excrement, being eaten by worms. Jews killed both Jesus Christ and the prophet Muhammad. Maybe they're planning to kill all Americans. The Israelis have something called skunk water, which they spray on Palestinians and protesters, and it smells like poop, like raw sewage combined with rotting corpses. And this is very symbolic of what the Israelis do to protesters and to Amalek, to the Palestinians. So I'm going to be showing proof of all that and explaining all that. The other big thing I want to cover today that I've been meaning to cover is why it is that Donald Trump is building what he calls a ballroom addition to the White House. What it in fact is a banquet hall, a cannibalistic dining hall for the wedding banquet of the Lamb, which is discussed in the book of Revelations, chapter 19, verses 7 to 9, where it discusses how the bride of Christ, the Christian church, marries Jesus, and Donald Trump is the armless Trump, the armless figure. He has two heads, which is why they always portray him with two eagles representing both his clerical and profane power. As the God Emperor on earth, he is the head of the state as well as the head of the church. So the church is going to become married to Donald Trump in this banquet hall that he is building. They don't show people dancing in this hall. They show dining tables. And then I'm going to tie that into something I alone have been discussing for decades, is that they want to consume the Gentiles in a banquet feast of the righteous to celebrate the arrival of the world to come. And this all fits in with that. The White House and this banquet hall are all portrayed in white to represent the divine realm. And as above, so below, the earth being elevated to the divine realm in the world to come. So there's a lot of Kabbalah going on in this Kabbalah drama. And the reason why we see Donald Trump spraying skunk water, boiling the Gentiles in excrement, is because that's the punishment on anyone who doesn't become a Noahide law, anyone who blasphemes not only the Shem, the name of the Lord, but blasphemes the rabbinical authorities and their quest to form a nation in Israel. So all the people who protest against the Zionists and in support of the Palestinians get doused in skunk water, get doused in poop. It's been happening in Israel for a very long time, as I've been pointing out. And I predicted, I envisioned, I foresaw the fact that this would be utilized by the Trump regime, and now it has, if only symbolically, and perhaps symbolically and more directly in the way it was depicted is even more significant than if he had imported barrels and drums and tankards full of skunk water from Israel to spray on Americans in violation of our constitutional rights. He is being portrayed as King Messiah. And let me give you a brief overview of what I'm going to be discussing so that if you're interested, you be sure and watch. I'm going to show the video of this skunk water dousing. Why don't we just watch that now so you get an idea of the context of what I'm talking about. So we're seeing a lot of the images of the book of Revelation. We're seeing Donald Trump descending from the heavens in a cloud that is the arrival of Jesus Christ returned as Jesus Antichrist. That's very much imagery taken right out of the book of Revelation. And he is dousing sewage, human crap, onto Harry Sisson and onto a crowd of protesters. This ties into the fact that he is now building the banquet hall for the wedding banquet of the Lamb, which is also part of the book of Revelations. King Trump. Did you see that? King Trump. This is Jesus Christ returning as Jesus Antichrist to exterminate the Goyim, descending in a cloud from heaven. There he is, the King, the Antichrist, Jesus Antichrist in the cloud in heaven. Dumping excrement so that the Gentiles are boiling in excrement for their blasphemy, for their rejection of Judaic Zionism. They get doused in skunk water, in manure, in sewage, in human excrement and semen, and they are boiling in it because the Antichrist, Jesus Antichrist, has returned to kill off all the Gentiles and destroy humanity. So that's what that is all about. And I'm not only going to talk about that, I'm going to show you directly all the passages. I've been talking about this for decades. We're going to talk about the skunk water that the Israelis use. Notice how similar it is to what appears in that video. I'm going to show a video I did about this a little over a year ago, talking about how Jesus and Gentiles who blaspheme are sentenced to boil in excrement and skunk water. And I predicted won't be long before this is used against protesters in Europe and America who speak out. It has now been used in a video that has tremendous psychological impact, that is meant to have a silencing, a chilling effect on free speech, meant to intimidate protesters. It is predictive programming and sympathetic magic to bring about both the boiling of Jesus in excrement, all Gentiles, all Christians in excrement, and the predictive programming to get us accustomed to the idea that they're going to start spraying skunk water on American protesters the same way they do on Israelis. I've been tweeting about this. We're going to go over that. I'm going to show you the Talmudic passages that I've been discussing. Gittin 57a, it was known for centuries that the Jews believe that Jesus is boiling in excrement, but I was the first one to tie it to a Reuven 21b to prove that he is boiling in excrement because he railed against the scribes, against the Pharisees. And the punishment for that is to be boiling in excrement. Peter Schaefer and others have since picked up on it, but I was discussing it long before them. And I'm going to explain all about this banquet hall that they're building and calling a ballroom, and how it fits in with the tribulation period of the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verses 7 to 9, discussing this wedding banquet of the Lamb and how that correlates to the banquet feast of the righteous, ushering in the world to come, in which they are going to engage in cannibalism, and they're going to eat the Leviathan of the West, the Christians, the Roman, Amalekite, Edomites of the West, after they fight it out with the behemoth of the Eurasianists, the Marxists, and the Muslims in a great sporting match. They're going to go to these banquet halls around the world, and they're going to literally eat our flesh. And I'm going to, as I discussed in my new book, which you can find at my website, CJBbooks.com, Satan's Chosen People, I quoted a passage from Josephus's book against Apion, where he is quoting Apion, revealing the fact that the Jews in the temple used to fatten up a Greek every year as the scapegoat and then eat him in the wilderness. And I explain all of that in my new book, Satan's Chosen People, as I've been doing. I talked about this all the way back in 2006 in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein. So I'm going to start digging into all that. If that interests you, I strongly encourage you to get a paid subscription at CJBbooks.substack.com so that you can see my world-changing analysis of all of this. And I want to thank you for watching up to this point. I'm now going to break away to my paid subscribers. So be sure and visit my website, get my new books, Satan's Chosen People, where I discuss all this. I knew all this was coming. All these events that are happening fit exactly what I discuss in my book, Satan's Chosen People. All of these things I'm going to be talking about today are in that book, and were in that book before all of this started happening. So for my paid subscribers,